Let me tell you guys, we have a bunch of really fun mods this week. Truly, I had so much fun recording this time around. We have some awesome stuff to check out, things that are going to add a whole lot to your game, and a good variety of stuff. Only one weapon to check out this week. We've got a whole lot of other fun goodies, some new replacers, some fun new armors, some other miscellaneous sort of mods, and one that is kind of the star of the show this week. So let's go ahead and hop right into it. This first one we're going to be checking out going to help spice up your world a little bit and change some of the vanilla elements. It is known as the APC Replacer by Oynlen. Now, what this mod is going to do is add an APC that replaces the vanilla APC. It sounds pretty simple, I know, but compared to some of the other mesh replacers out there, this one's actually pretty top-notch. For starters, it comes in 3 different versions. There is a clean version of the APC, a slightly rusted version, and a completely rusted version. So depending on how you like your Commonwealth to look, there are different options. My personal favorite is going to be the lightly rusted, and that is what is showcased in this video. There's still a good bit of rust, it looks pretty dirty, but you can tell what it is underneath, you can still see the camo and everything. The fully rusted one is honestly a little over the top for my personal taste, but for some of you out there with certain retextures, that actually might be perfect. Now, a huge plus to this APC replacer is of course the fact that it is going to have sort of a more modern approach to the APC, something that looks a little bit more grounded in our reality compared to Fallout's. The Fallout APC is just a little bit bubbly and weird. That is sort of the style of the 50s cars that are typically inspired from the Fallout universe, but there have been some military vehicles in the past games that just don't really have that aesthetic, so depending on what you like and what your headcanon is, this might fit better. Definitely, this is probably going to be the go-to choice for anybody who has a modern load order out there. If you're using more tactical mods and you're really trying to overhaul the entirety of the world, this is one that you might want to download. Now, there's more features going on than just the different texture options as well. Not only is this going to replace all of the standard APCs, it's also going to replace the ones with interiors. If you go around the map, you might occasionally find an APC that has an open back with an interior that'll typically have some form of loot or some form of set dressing. And all of that completely works with this mod, which is completely surprising. Personally, I didn't expect this to actually function with this mod. In my opinion, I thought it was just going to kind of be broken in that area. But it actually works completely fine. There's even a crossbeam that comes down for the 2 doors that open up, and it looks perfectly fine, it works perfectly fine, all the collisions are correct, and all of the loot that you would find inside these APCs are still there. Everything works exactly as it should, and to me that is a huge plus for this mod. It's something that makes this kind of step above and beyond the typical mesh replacement because there was some actual time and care put into this to make sure that it worked correctly. This wasn't just some simple NIF swap. The author actually made sure that things worked before they got this thing out and published, so that's really cool. On top of that, there's also support for the APC transport home that you can get as a mod that will replace that model with this model. That comes as an optional file, but that's definitely a really cool addition. That way you have some consistency between the 2 sets of APCs, but also you get a cool new home that looks really badass. So if this mod was already catching your eye and you want to have a home that is going to be based off of one of these APCs, that is definitely something to consider. But there is more. This mod I have had saved on my list for quite some time to cover, and I just haven't quite found a video that I wanted to throw it into yet. But thanks to the next mod, I finally had a reason to check this out because the next mod we're checking out is known as Driveables of the Commonwealth APC, also by Oynlen. Remember the APC we just talked about? Well, now imagine that you can drive it. We've covered some drivable vehicles before. They're going to use the Driveables of the Commonwealth as a framework, but this one's a bit different for a couple of reasons. It does use the same framework, it's going to require the same drivable truck mod, but it's got some other interesting things. Now, for starters, for those of you who don't know what Driveables of the Commonwealth is, it is a completely new system for driving vehicles that is based on physics rather than a static object that is just going to sort of move around the screen. This thing is a real vehicle. It's the closest thing we've had to proper driving in Fallout 4 ever. Now, the real vehicles that you'd see in most of the drivable Commonwealth mods have some really bouncy, funky physics. The vehicles are very light and strange. This one's a bit different. It feels almost as if it has a bit more mass, which is great because it is an APC, but also it has 8 wheels instead of 4, and somehow I feel like in the driving, that makes things feel a bit better. It has slower turning, which in most games you wouldn't want, but in Driveables of the Commonwealth, that's actually very helpful because typically you're flying around the map in ways that are kind of crazy. So this actually feels like a very grounded vehicle that just kind of works. Now, is this thing balanced or meant for any load order to be used seriously? Probably not, but if you wanted a drivable APC, you can actually have one in Fallout 4, which is a crazy thing to say. But the whole time I was recording this, I was actually in a call with a friend, and I couldn't stop talking about how cool it was that somebody got this working. Because not only is it a fully functional vehicle, it also has a functional turret, which to my knowledge, I don't think I've ever seen in Fallout 4 before. You can actually move the turret around on the top of this vehicle and shoot it. Now, of course, it's a little jank. It's not perfect. You can't aim it like you could aim a normal gun in this game. But it does work. You can tilt it left and right, and I believe that the up and down is sort of based on the orientation of the vehicle itself rather than your camera. But I was actually able to get some kills. There's probably some footage playing right now of me actually able to shoot enemies and kind of wipe them off the streets. Now, you're a little limited as to where you can go with this thing, but if you want to roll up on a heavily guarded super mutant fortress, you can kill some of the guys outside with this thing and then go in and invade yourself, which is kind of fun, kind of interesting. Now, unlike the other version, the one that is just going to replace the meshes around the world, this one only comes in the clean variant, which kind of makes sense. It's a kind of like an APC that you souped up and took care of so that you could actually use it. It makes sense for this one to be a little bit cleaner than the rest. But overall, just having a drivable version of this APC and then also regular versions of this, thanks to the previous mod, is fantastic. Because now when you drive this thing around, it's not out of place. If you're going to use this one, I'd recommend using both. So you don't drive by the other weird old APCs. You'll actually have them all be cohesive as one thing that sort of just exists in your world. This is just what APCs look like in your Fallout if you download both of these mods, and you get to drive one, which is honestly just so cool. Even if you don't want to put this in your load order, I'd recommend giving this thing a shot just to have fun for a couple hours. It really is just a good time. Those drivable mods are always super fun, and having one that shoots is even cooler. But we gotta move on to the next mod now, which is known as the Oppressor Dog Armor by Thirdstorm or Perpetual Beta. This is going to be a new set of Raider dog armor that looks super cool and has some fun technological stuff going on behind the scenes that I like quite a lot. Now, visually, this looks like a souped up version of the vanilla dog armor, which already is a huge plus in my book because I love stuff that looks like it fits with the vanilla game. It uses a lot of the similar Raider armor materials and pieces, but it also has a fully working jaw mounted to the front of dog meat or whatever dog you decide to put this on that has huge metal teeth. Now, when I was talking about the technological stuff going on behind the scenes, that jaw functions. Every time dog meat or whatever dog would open its mouth to bark or bite or anything, the jaw moves with it, and it looks so cool. The weight painting on this thing was done perfectly, and whoever made this really knew what they were doing, and I wish that there would be more stuff like this on the Nexus. Dog armors is something that has been in the base game, but we don't see a ton of on the modding scene. There has been stuff occasionally, like backpacks or different faction armors, but just more junky armors like this for raiders to have is awesome. I think this looks so cool. There's also a ton of materials you can apply over at the armor workbench. If you have this thing in your inventory, you can paint it gold or black or 80 different shades of metals and other various colors. There's a lot of options there, and it's not just one color. There's actually usually 1 or 2 colors per armor piece. I believe that you get to do the outside armor and the inside armor for the big chest piece, and the helmet has the teeth material as well as something that you can change, so that's pretty interesting. Now, when you download this armor, you're also going to get some stuff for the vanilla armors. On top of getting this new armor for dogs, it actually adds 16 more textures to the vanilla dog armor that you can throw in as well, and they will be built into the mod collection so that those new colors will actually spawn on the world. So if you run into raiders that have dog armor, they might actually have some of the new colors on them, which is pretty cool. On top of all of that, this armor is also added to the leveled list, so you will be able to find this thing out in the world after level 33. That's pretty late. But once you're a high level, dogs will actually start wearing this instead, which is pretty cool. It makes dogs a little bit more of a formidable foe. And this thing does have some pretty beefy stats, so that actually should prove to be a more difficult experience when you run into them out in the wild. Now, I've talked a lot about the goods of this mod. There are also a couple of downsides, quote unquote. The biggest of all is going to be that this thing does require AWKCR. This mod's a bit older, and so that was a time when that was kind of the standard for armor mods. So that is something you're just going to have to deal with if you want to use this. There are, however, a ton of patches out there that take AWKCR from random mods, so it may be worth looking through all of that. There may very well be a patch for this that actually does remove that dependency. If that's the case, then that's something you may want to look into. The other small downside is that the way that the leveled lists are added to this mod are through hard edits. The author claims that it was the best way to do what they wanted to do. In my opinion, scripts are pretty much always going to be better, but I've never messed with dog armor, so I guess I don't really know what I'm talking about in that regard. But what I will say is hard edits can cause issues sometimes. Typically, that's going to cause issues if you have more mods doing the same thing. Chances are you're not going to have many mods affecting the leveled lists of dog armor, so it may not be the worst thing in the world. That's something you may be able to get past, and it probably won't even have that many issues for you realistically, but it is something to be aware of if you're going to be downloading this. It does make some hard edits, so if you have another mod that's similar, they may conflict. But this armor's cool enough that I would probably use it over any other dog armor that I had installed, and chances are it's probably not going to conflict with much anyways. To me, this is a perfect mod for adding some more armors to the Raider dogs. I think it's super cool, and you can throw it on dog meat as well if you wanted to stand out as something really, really cool looking. The next mod we're checking out is also a bit older. Now that it's 2025, this thing is actually coming up on 6 years of age, which is just crazy to me. We're checking out the quad barrel shotgun from FalloutMiami. I haven't talked about FalloutMiami in quite some time. It's a big project that is still underway, and this is something they actually released for us to use. This came out quite some time ago, but it's still a fantastic mod. It's something I wanted to talk about and showcase. So if you're not familiar with this thing, the quad barrel shotgun is a funky break action shotgun that has 4 barrels. It has custom animations, completely custom, that look really, really nice. It has a super funky and unique design. I believe this is based on the Liberator shotgun, which was a prototype from way back in the day, that has been adapted to a new design for Fallout 4. And honestly, this thing looks really, really cool. Sort of a step up from the double barrel, but something before the combat shotgun. You get 4 shots before you have to reload, but the reload is pretty dang quick. I'd say it's around the same time probably as the vanilla double barrel, yet you're loading in 4 shells over 2, so that's a pretty good upgrade. Now, if you want to get your hands on this thing, there's actually a handful of ways to do so. For starters, it is added to the leveled list. You'll start spawning out in the world at level 25 on Gunders, and you can also purchase it from Clio and Settlement weapon vendors. Pretty specific set of stuff you can get it from, but it is going to be out there in the world in places that honestly do make a good bit of sense. But there's also Unique, known as the Liberator, which kind of proves what I said earlier. This thing is definitely based on the Liberator shotgun. You can get that guy as part of a short quest. So you do a little quest and you'll get a unique version of the weapon, which is pretty cool. And it's going to have explosive shells, which is, to be honest, a little bit ridiculous, a little bit overpowered, but it's really fun and really cool. So it's definitely one that's worth doing. If you want to get your hands on that one in particular, the quest will start in a railway control tower south of Gunners Plaza. Overall, a wonderful shotgun that's integrated into the game in a wonderful way. A beautiful unique that's part of a quest, and all of the regular variants are going to be found in the leveled list. Truly a wonderful shotgun, and if you're not using it already, it's something you should definitely add to your load order. It fits so well in just about anything, and it's super cool. And finally, that takes us to our last mod of the video, which is going to be a pretty simple armor mod, but one that I like quite a bit. It's called the Bandit outfit by Ghost Dog. Now, this is going to take assets from multiple different places and mash them up together to make a brand new outfit. The main outfit is going to consist of a black jacket with gloves, a balaclava, some Adidas track pants, and some tennis shoes, which gives a total scav vibe from Escape from Tarkov. The author says it is Stalker inspired. I haven't played too much Stalker, but I got to imagine that they have a similar vibe to that sort of Russian apocalyptic look. Now, there's also some other stuff in this mod. You're going to get some other accessories, including a face mask and a beanie that can be mixed and matched however you want, or you can replace it with a balaclava for a complete face piece. Additionally, you can swap out the black jacket for a couple of winter camos, but those are going to come in the form of optional files. So sadly, it's not something you can just add at the Armor's Workbench. It's something you have to download separately. Hopefully the author can figure out how to do that. It's a pretty simple thing to add an armor modification that allows you to swap out the different materials, but I'm not sure exactly how they set up this armor. Maybe that wasn't feasible for them. Either way, there are some options there, but I wouldn't recommend downloading the winter camos unless you really like them or you have a winter sort of environment for your game, because they'll kind of stand out from the regular outfit in your regular old summer sort of playthrough. For most people, I'm going to recommend the default black armor set, but of course it is up to you to choose. There are some images on the mod page that show off the different color options, but I think the best looking one is probably the black one. Although the winter ones do look really cool if you are in a snowy environment. If you want to get your hands on this armor, it is of course available over at the chemistry station. This thing is not added to the leveled list, sadly. It is just something that you'll be able to craft. But making your own leveled list patch isn't the hardest thing in the world, or maybe there's somebody out there already who's working on it or has released one. If that's the case, then that would be a great addition to any game. I think it fits in pretty much any style. It's just sort of a jacket and sweatpants. Probably fits a little bit more with a modern look since it does have tennis shoes and Adidas track pants, but I could see this thing fitting pretty much anywhere. It's a pretty cool outfit. It works well for raiders and scavs, so I think if you're doing a sort of Tarkov style load order, this is something that would be a good addition. With that though, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Some really fun mods this week. The dog armor is awesome, the quad barrel shotgun is so fun to use, and that drivable APC really is just a masterpiece. It's a fun thing to use. It'd be hard to integrate into a balanced load order, but it's just so cool. It's something that's so technologically wonderful that it's something I think everybody should give a try just to see how fun it is. And who knows, maybe you could build a load order around these drivable vehicles, make sort of a Mad Max vibe. If you'd like to try any of these mods out, they will all be linked down in the description below. And while you're down there, consider dropping the video a like. If you enjoyed this video, it's a great way to show me what you like and what kind of mods you like to see. It really helps out the channel, and it's free. Additionally, if you'd like to support my work in a more direct manner, you can do so using my link down there to check me out on Patreon. It is the best way to support me directly, whether it's the videos I make here on YouTube, or if you want to support the mods I make over on the Nexus, it is the best way to do so. Of course, though, it is going to be a completely optional choice. It's not something you should feel like you need to do. It's just there for those of the people who want it. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace!